Okay, so mysterious lights in the sky, right? I mean, who isn't fascinated by that? And today we're diving deep into one of the most famous examples, one that's been baffling people for centuries, the Min lights of the Australian outback.
Yeah, it's one of those mysteries where the more you dig in, the more intriguing it gets.
Exactly. So for this deep dive, we've got an amazing mix of sources, which makes it extra cool. We've got like old school accounts from European settlers who came to Australia, and then we've got the modern science trying to figure it out. But also, really importantly, we've got Aboriginal folklore, which offers a whole different way of seeing these lights.
And that's what makes this so fascinating, this blend of perspectives. It's not just about finding a single answer, it's about understanding how different cultures have interpreted this phenomenon for centuries.
Right, so let's start with those Aboriginal tales, because I've heard they're not just spooky campfire stories, right? They have a much deeper meaning.
Exactly. For many Aboriginal cultures, the Min lights are deeply connected to the land itself, to their ancestors, to their whole belief system.
So it's not just some generic spirit or ghost.
No, not at all. It's like a living history woven into the landscape. The lights are seen as a manifestation of that connection, a way of understanding the past and present as intertwined. It's actually kind of similar to how other cultures around the world have their own versions of unexplained lights, like will-o'-the-wisps, right?
Oh, that's a great point. So it's like this universal human thing trying to make sense of strange lights in the dark.
Exactly.
So when European settlers arrived in Australia, did they bring their own interpretations to the table?
They absolutely did, and it often clashed with the Aboriginal perspective.
Oh, I bet.
Aboriginal cultures saw a spiritual connection, while the European settlers, with their scientific worldview, were more inclined to look for a rational explanation.
Yeah, makes sense.
Like, there's this famous account of James Durham, a stockman who claimed to have encountered the Min lights back in 1918. He described these lights hovering just above him, and the poor guy was so terrified that he fled on horseback. Imagine, right? Fleeing on horseback through the pitch-black outback.
Talk about a terrifying experience. It really makes you think about how fear of the unknown can shape our perceptions.
It definitely can. It makes us reach for explanations, even supernatural ones, to make sense of things we don't understand.
So true.
Yeah.
But what happens when science tries to explain it? Does science help us understand the Min lights?
Well, that's where things get a little tricky, and maybe a bit frustrating, honestly.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Lay it on me. What are some of the theories that scientists have come up with?
Well, one of the most popular explanations is bioluminescence.
Like fireflies.
Exactly. Fireflies, some fungi, even deep-sea creatures emit their own light. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, it is. But how would that explain the Min
Well,
lights?
that's the thing. Does bioluminescence explain lights that seem to move with intention, follow people?
Yeah. It doesn't quite fit.
Right. Not a perfect fit.
So if glowing bugs aren't the answer, what else could it be?
Another common theory is atmospheric effects. Like, maybe the lights are caused by electrical discharges in the atmosphere.
Oh, interesting. So like lightning, but not quite.
Kind of, but again, there are questions. Are these discharges predictable enough to explain the consistency of the min lights? Do they happen in such specific locations? Not always.
So we're back to square one. Or is there another theory?
Well, there's another popular one, and it involves mirages.
Ah, those heat hazes you get in the desert.
Exactly. Those shimmering waves of heat can definitely play tricks on your eyes, make things appear in the distance, especially in a place like the outback.
So the Min lights could be a mirage.
It's possible, but again, there are problems. Can a mirage chase after someone? That's where this theory also starts to break down.
It seems like every explanation has its own little snag. It's like trying to fit a square peg into a round hole.
It is, and that's honestly what makes it so fascinating, the fact that there isn't a single satisfying answer. The mystery is still alive and well.
It keeps us guessing, right? Our brains love a good mystery.
Exactly. We're hardwired to look for patterns, for explanations, and when something like the min lights comes along, defying easy categorization, it grabs our attention. And it makes you wonder, doesn't it? We've got these captivating Aboriginal legends, we've got scientists scratching their heads trying to come up with explanations, but there's this whole other layer, this cultural significance, especially for Aboriginal Australians. It's not just about spooky lights in the dark for them.
It's about something much deeper, right? Like a connection to something bigger than themselves.
Exactly. We need to remember that these lights represent a connection to their ancestors, to a history that's woven into the land itself. It's not just a phenomenon to them, it's part of their identity.
It's reflected in their art, their stories, their whole worldview, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And it speaks to something really fundamental about being human, this need to find meaning in our surroundings, to connect with something larger than ourselves.
It's amazing, isn't it? Even if we never actually see the Minlights ourselves, trying to understand their significance to another culture can really broaden our own perspective, help us see the world in new ways.
I think that's so important. It's a reminder that there are different ways of seeing and interpreting the world, and that's a valuable lesson in itself.
It's like a reminder that there's more to the world than meets the eye, right? We've got these fascinating legends, we've got these scientific theories, but at the end of the day, the mystery remains. After centuries of stories and research, we still don't have a definitive answer for what the Minlights actually are.
It's true. And as we've been talking about, it's that enduring mystery that keeps us coming back for more, trying to figure it out.
It's like our brains are wired to crave explanations, to find those patterns and connect the dots. And when something like the Minlights comes along and just throws a curveball, it really captures our imagination.
Absolutely. It makes us question what we think we know about the world, which is never a bad thing.
And you know what's interesting? It's not just scientists and Aboriginal Australians who are fascinated by these lights. The Minlights have actually made their way into pop culture too. They pop up in books, movies, even songs. It's like they've taken on a life of their own beyond the outback.
They really have. It's like they've become a symbol of the unexplained, this reminder that there are still things out there that we just haven't figured out yet.
Which brings me to a question for you, the listener. Why should you care about these mysterious lights flickering in the Australian outback? What makes this relevant to you, even if you're thousands of miles away?
I love that question. It's easy to get caught up in the details, but it's important to step back and ask, why does this matter?
Exactly. So why does it matter?
Well, I think there are a few reasons. On one level, it's just plain fascinating, right? It's a genuine mystery, and we get to explore different ways of understanding the world around us.
It's like a real-life detective story, except the clues are incredibly elusive, and the culprit might not even exist.
Exactly. But beyond the pure intellectual curiosity, I think there's a deeper takeaway here. The Minlights remind us that there are still things in this world that we don't fully understand. And that's okay. In fact, it's more than okay. It's essential.
It keeps us humble,
Yeah.
keeps us asking questions, and prevents us from getting too comfortable with what we think we know.
I couldn't agree more. It's a reminder that there's always more to learn, always new perspectives to consider. And that brings us back to the human element, too. The fact that the Minlights have been woven into the fabric of Aboriginal cultures for generations. Learning about their significance helps us broaden our own understanding and appreciate different ways of knowing.
I think that's so important. It reminds us that our own perspective is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. And sometimes the most valuable thing isn't finding the answer, but embracing the mystery. It really is. So we've talked about the legends and the science, and we've even touched on how these lights has kind of seeped into pop culture. But as we wrap up our deep dive into the Minlights, I'm left with one final question, and it's for you listening out there. Imagine just for a second that you had the chance to go look for these lights yourself. What would you be hoping to find? Would you want that concrete proof like a photo or video, something to finally solve the mystery?
Or would you be looking for something else entirely, maybe an experience that goes beyond any kind of scientific explanation, something that you just can't quite put into words?
Yeah, that's a great point. Would you want that definitive answer, or would you be okay with just the wonder, the mystery? Like, is it possible that the experience of the unknown is actually more valuable than any explanation we could ever find?
It's a really interesting question to think about, isn't it? What is it about the unexplained that draws us in? Maybe sometimes it's not about finding the answers at all, but about learning to be okay with the questions.
And that, I think, is a really important takeaway from our deep dive into the Minlights. It's okay to not have all the answers. It's okay to embrace the mystery, to let it spark our curiosity, and to keep exploring.
Absolutely. The world is a pretty amazing place, full of things we may never fully understand.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so exciting. So keep that sense of wonder alive, keep asking questions, and keep exploring. Thanks for joining us on this journey into the Australian outback and the enduring mystery of the Minlights.